You've seen it everywhere, right? That little button at checkout, buy now, pay later. And on the surface, it feels like a total game changer. It's this modern, super flexible way to shop that lets you get what you want right now and, worry about paying for it later. But as we're about to find out, all that convenience comes with a hidden price tag. So, is it really as simple as it looks?
Okay, picture this. You find the perfect jacket. It's $200, but when you go to pay, you get this offer. Just pay $50 today. The rest, 3 more easy payments. And here's the kicker, 0 interest. It feels like a no-brainer, doesn't it? But you know what they say, if something seems too good to be true, you gotta ask what's the catch. And that's the big question we're gonna dig into today. So to really get to the bottom of this, we're gonna peel back the layers of this whole buy now, pay later model, one by one. We'll start with what makes it so easy, the frictionless purchase. Then we'll dive into the psychology of why installments are so tempting. After that, we'll look at the tough spot it puts merchants in, uncover this hidden BNPL tax, and finally, we'll ask if this entire business model is even built to last.
All right, first up, the frictionless purchase. To really get why buy now, pay later is such a huge deal, we need to take a quick look at how things used to be. The old world of credit. This right here tells the whole story. On one side, you've got traditional credit cards. They have all these gatekeepers, right? You need a solid credit history, you got to prove your income, and you wait around for approval. Well, buy now, pay later just tossed all of that right out the window. The approval is instant, a lot of times there's no hard credit check, and the whole thing kind of operates in this gray area outside of traditional banking. They literally removed all the friction. And that, right there, is the entire point. The whole system is engineered with just one goal: to get rid of any hesitation, any second thoughts you might have when you're about to buy something. They want to make spending your money feel completely effortless and, most importantly, painless. Which brings us perfectly to our next section, the psychology behind it all. Because that painless feeling I just mentioned, that's not some happy accident. It is a carefully engineered feature designed to hack into the predictable ways our brains work. Believe it or not, spending money actually hurts, or at least that's how our brain sees it. Scientists call this the pain of paying. It's a natural defense mechanism that's supposed to help us keep our spending in check. It's a feature, not a bug. But what if you could just flip a switch and turn that feature off? Well, this is how they do it. It's a powerful idea called temporal discounting. By chopping up one big, painful $200 payment into 4 small, almost unnoticeable $50 payments, these services play a trick on our brains. The immediate pain gets slashed, and those future payments, they feel like a problem for somebody else, future you. It's how a $200 purchase is masterfully reframed to feel like a $50 one. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no, a whole bunch of other mental shortcuts kick in. First, you've already made that first payment, so now you feel committed. That's the sunk cost fallacy at work. Then, your brain starts doing this funny math where it says, hey, I was going to spend $200, but I only spent $50. I just saved $150. So what do? You feel justified spending that saved money on something else. The end result is almost always the same. We just end up buying more stuff. And this isn't just a theory. We've got the data to prove it. A recent study found that a staggering 57% of American users admitted they regretted a buy now, pay later purchase because it was for something they didn't even really need. The system is just so good at lowering our defenses that we often don't even realize we've gone overboard until it's way too late. Okay, so now let's flip the script and look at this from the other side of the cash register. For us, it's about convenience. But for store owners, it's pitched as this essential tool for survival, an offer that sounds almost impossible to refuse. I mean, just look at these numbers. This is the sales pitch that retailers are getting. Hey, just add our little button to your website, and boom, you'll see a 33% jump in how much people spend per order, you'll turn 18% more window shoppers into actual buyers, and your customers will spend 31% more overall. For any business, big or small, those promises are incredibly hard to ignore. So if it drives that much business, what on earth could be the problem for the merchant? Well, remember our main question. What's the catch? For merchants, the catch is all about one thing, the commission. Okay, so when you use a regular credit card, the store pays a fee of, say, 1.5 to 3%. It's just the cost of doing business. But a buy now, pay later transaction? Whoa, that can cost them anywhere from 2% all the way up to a massive 8%. That is a huge difference. And here's why that's such a killer. Most retail businesses, especially the small ones, are running on razor-thin profit margins, maybe 10% if they're lucky. So if you suddenly have to pay a 6% commission fee on a sale, you've just watched more than half of your profit on that item vanish into thin air. It creates this terrible dilemma. Do you turn down the extra sales, or do you accept sales that barely make you any money?
And this brings us right to the heart of the whole thing. If the customer isn't paying interest and the merchant is giving up most of their profit, where is the money actually coming from? Who is really paying for all this frictionless convenience?
Okay, let's just connect the dots here, step by step. More and more of us start using the super easy BNPL option. That means merchants are paying those really high commission fees on more and more of their sales, so their profit margins start getting squeezed. To stay in business, what choice do they have? They have to raise their prices. And they don't just raise prices for the BNPL users, they raise them for everybody.
And there it is. That's the ultimate catch. It's a hidden BNPL tax. The cost of this service just gets baked into the price of everything. So whether you pay in 4 easy installments or you walk in and pay with cash, you are paying a little bit more to cover the cost of this system. The convenience for some becomes an invisible cost for all of us. Okay, so we've seen the cost to us, the consumers, and the cost to the stores. But what about the buy now, pay later companies themselves? I mean, with commissions that high, you'd think they'd be rolling in cash. But the reality? Well, it tells a much different story. Let's just take Klarna as an example. They were one of the first big players in this space. Back in 2021, at the peak of all the hype, they were valued at an absolutely insane $46 billion. Just 1 year later, that valuation completely collapsed by 85%, down to $6.7 billion. And even today, the company is still losing over $1 billion a year. So why are they struggling so much? It really boils down to 3 big problems. First, a lot of people just don't pay it back. When you make it that easy to get credit, defaults are going to happen. For Klarna, that's about 2.4% of users. Second, the competition is just fierce. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. And finally, unlike credit cards, they don't have that high-interest revenue to fall back on. The fees they charge merchants often just aren't enough to cover all the defaults and the costs of running the business. And since we all know there's no such thing as a free lunch, these companies are starting to change their game plan. They're now pushing longer-term payment plans that come with, surprise, surprise, service fees or other charges. Basically, they're slowly turning into the very thing they promised they would replace, lenders that charge you interest. And this is where we have to zoom out and think about the bigger picture. Because we've seen this movie before. A system that hands out easy debt with very few checks to people who might not be able to pay it back, that was one of the key ingredients that led to the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, the scale is different, of course, but the basic idea is worryingly familiar.
So this is where we land. Buy now, pay later showed up with this really simple, really powerful promise to make shopping better. But now that we've seen the psychological tricks, the squeeze it puts on businesses, that hidden tax we all end up paying, and the shaky ground the industry itself is on, we have to ask a much tougher question. Is the convenience of buy now really worth the price we all might end up paying later?